So our final inductee has a 40-year career with the Belleville News-Democrat, serving as an award-winning sports editor, columnist, and Cardinals beat writer. As a longtime member of the media community, I well appreciate the style, the class, and the knowledge. Hand in hand, he has worked so many years with our boy Todd Eschman, who will do the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Ostermeier.
I presume you know how one of these works, not just.
Yes, sort of.
Well, I want to tell you a little bit of a story, just to start. I grew up in Belleville in a 2-newspaper household. We got the News-Democrat in the afternoon. In fact, I delivered it. And in the morning,
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. And in the morning, and you would remember, I delivered you a lot because I'm so much younger than you are.
Wait a minute.
We got in the morning, we got the Post or the Globe Democrat, depending on who had the better deal for that 6-month stretch. I read Bernie. I've read Kevin Horgan. I've read countless others. I've listened to Ron. I've listened to Greg on the radio. And I have to tell you, growing up, yours is the career I always wanted to have.
Wow. Just to be named in the same sentence with all those other people, some of them friends, is astonishing. But this is more astonishing. When you're the backup wide receiver on the Queen of Peace 8th grade flag football team.
That was a good team, though.
That is the height of your athletic accomplishment. I'd like to note that I've been waiting 47 years for that feat to be recognized, and here we are. Thank you.
Queen of Peace was the Raiders.
The Queen of Peace Raiders.
The Raiders. Let's hear it for the Raiders.
You're correct.
So, just a little setup here. Back when you joined the News-Democrat, it was an interesting time for the paper itself, just because the Metro East Journal was going out. They were corporately purchased, and the News-Democrat kind of grew from a community paper centered in Belleville to more of a regional sort of thing. When you became sports editor then in 84. 85. The sports department really stretched, and you yourself got involved in covering the pros and really established the News-Democrat as a voice of pro sports in St. Louis.
Yeah, and that was something we set out to do. We knew, frankly, when you drive to the ballpark now and you pull into the parking garage, at least every other license plate is an Illinois plate. So we knew there was tremendous interest in the baseball Cardinals, the football Cardinals. The Blues were just starting, or had been in existence for a while at that point. But we wanted to do that, and I kind of took that on as a personal mission of mine.
And you did it well. I mean, and what a great time in St. Louis sports, too. So you got to cover the World Series in 85, 87, 2004, 2011. You covered the World Series. You covered the Rams during the Super Bowl in 99 or 2000. Did you know that was going to happen then when you were sitting on the bench?
No, I had no idea. About the third week I was covering the Cardinals, the shortstop for the Cardinals, he wore number 1. Ozzie Smith.
Gary Temple.
Hit a home run to win a playoff game, and 2 days later I was in Los Angeles interviewing Jack Clark after he hit a home run to win that series. And I had no idea at that point that, I did the math not too long ago, and in some ways it's exhilarating, in some ways it's kind of depressing. Of all the Cardinal playoff games in history, I've covered almost exactly half of them in person, which is amazing. They've played almost 500. The math is in the bio in the program if you guys want to read it. I don't remember the numbers, but it's almost half, and that's amazing. I've, as you said, covered 5 World Series and 2 Super Bowls and countless National League Championship games, have been in almost every major city in this country because of baseball. And before I go on, I want to mention, You don't get to do that. You don't get to hang with wizards and guys named Whitey and Ozzy and Albert unless your family at home is willing to accept that my dinner plate's going to be empty for a lot of nights of the baseball season. So I want to thank my wife, Jean, who kept our family together all those years, my daughter, Eileen, my son, Daniel, my son, Ben, Chris, who's married to Eileen, Jen, who's married to Daniel. Sports for them was the thing that took Dad out of the house a lot of nights. And they still let me in the front door all the time, so I appreciate that.
Well, I do too. As a reader of the News Democrat, when I was younger, I appreciated it too for letting us have them for all those years. So that's a good segue, though, to just let's just name. You had some golden years with some great teams. Pick a team.
The 2011 team, maybe because it's the most recent and my brain is 66 years old, but that was an amazing team. They were not supposed to win. I mean, they limped into the postseason. And Game 6, I'm one of the official scorers at the game, which means I have to help judge the plays on the field. But being a newspaper reporter, I'm writing a 1A story, a column, a sidebar is a secondary story, and adding to some notes. And that crazy game went on and on and on, and everybody in press row watching that game, every time something happened, they all went, "Oh my God, I've never seen that before." You know, David Freese hits the triple in the ninth. You know, the Rangers go ahead. Lance Berkman ties it back up, and then Freese hits the ball into the grass. And the crowd goes crazy. And I'm looking at my computer screen, and it's almost midnight, and our press is starting. I go, holy cow, how can I do justice to this game? So we get our interviews, and I come back upstairs. I turn to David Wilhelm, who covered a lot of games with me. I said, David, I think we have to start from scratch. And I literally opened my computer to a blank screen, and I just started typing. And that story, because I was mostly unconscious as I was writing it, won the Associated Press Award for Best Sports News Breaking Story of the Year in Illinois that year. Mostly because I was too busy to think and too busy to try to make it better. I just described what happened in front of me.
And I should interject here too. And Jerome, you brought this up when you're playing at Assumption and you're playing East Side. It's like you're a middleweight fighter, you know, stepping in the ring against a heavyweight sometimes. And the News Democrat, when it comes to these judgment contests with the Associated Press or the Illinois Press Association, the News Democrat is in a class with the Chicago Tribune, the Chicago Sun-Times, the bigs of our industry. And Joe, on several occasions, not just for breaking news story, but he's been the best columnist in the state of Illinois against the likes of Steve Rosenblum, some
Yes.
others whose name escape me. So that's going to be a little heady for you as well.
Well, you know, I'm sure every athlete will tell you this in the audience, is that as you're doing these things, you're not thinking about it, you're just doing it. And it isn't until later when you look back, you realize in some cases what you accomplished. And that's how I feel about my writing career. The best writing I ever did was right on deadline when I had no time to think. And sometimes I'd drive home from the ballpark and think, oh my God, that was awful. And I'd get the paper off the driveway the next morning and I'd look at it and say, hey, there's a verb in every sentence here. This is pretty good.
When we were doing some house cleaning at the News Democrat in the sports department, we found stacks and stacks of spiral ring notebooks, and inside was pasted box scores, one after another. They were all marked off by season. Joe, you would clip these box scores out and had them pasted up in these things with copious notes written throughout. I guess this is what sports writing was like before,
Before
baseballreference.com.
I had a red pen and a black pen and a spiral notebook, and every day for every player on the Cardinals, I would write down his line. And if it won, if they'd won, it was written in red, and if it was black, if they lost, it was written in black. And that monotonous task every day might lead to a sentence in my story every 2 weeks or so, like, Pujols has hit safely in 11 of the last 13 Cardinal victories, you know? But it was something that helped me keep track, because baseball, as Earl Weaver once said famously, this isn't football. Apologies, Jerry. This isn't football. We do this every day, you know? And so to keep track of everything that was happening on a baseball team, because that's what you do when you're the beat writer, you have to do that or you don't see some of the trends that otherwise would be missed.
I can't help but appreciate, though, based on what's happening in our industry, that everything's gone digital. It's been tough for newspapers to survive and rebuild underneath all that, and to see that sort of bootstrap reporting is sort of inspirational for those of us who are still toiling away in the trenches. So that's
well,
pretty
thank
cool.
you for that. Thanks.
So I've already asked you to name a team, and by virtue of 2011, you already named Game 6. There goes name a game. Name a player. Pick a player.
You know, that's like asking me to pick one of my favorite kids out there. But there are certain people that you just know, if they hadn't been baseball players, they would have been just as special doing whatever they did. And I think of a guy like Bob Gibson, who I grew up watching as a kid, idolizing, who now says hi to me and we chat whenever we see each other. Or Lou Brock, who I missed one opening day in 22 seasons as the beat writer because of someone in the family having a medical situation, and Lou Brock came to the game and he turned to one of our people and said, "Where's Joe tonight?" That was amazing for me, you know? So some of it is guys like that, but it's David Eckstein or Woody Williams or Eric Davis, who had a cup of coffee with the Cardinals, Larry Walker, just here briefly, but you knew of them from afar, but when they came to the team and you saw them every day, you realized what kind of special people they were, not just athletes. So.
I've had many of your experiences as well, Joe, but I haven't had this one experience, and I have to ask you, does champagne in the eyes really burn as bad as they say it does?
Oh, it's awful. The worst thing, the second worst thing about covering a team in late October is you've worked nonstop for 7 months and you're exhausted. The worst thing is that champagne in your eye. And certain guys like Jeff Suppan or Woody Williams or Matt Morris are going to find you and make sure you get an eyeful, which was not good. And Gene will tell you I'd come home after some of those champagne baths, and I would leave the clothes downstairs by the laundry rather than come upstairs reeking of the champagne that I was drenched in. So,
Gotta be worth it.
oh yeah, it was worth it. Yes.
Well, this is my esteemed privilege to be able to say this, but welcome to the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, Joe Ostermeier.
Oh, I am humbled, and I thank you. And it's truly amazing to be a part of this. And I'd like to note that I had a worse athletic career than Charlie Rodman, by far.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for all our honorees and our interviewers who did a terrific job tonight.